set up in the other room. Then Jeff is sitting here, so it's divided up a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Okay. We're going to start today from the Mishnah and then Dalet. Then Dalet Amud Aleph 54a. Here it says, oh, we thank Hashem that you're playing Torah every day. It's chus of a learning we should have. Base of Migdash immediately. And the learning Lili Nishmas. And Ben Mitzian for Shlema for anyone that needs. It says here, Habala Zacher. Someone lives with a man. Bala Behema. Or he lives with an animal. Isha Mevias a Behema. Or a woman that brings a male that brings an animal on her. She's the passive one here. The first cases was the Habala Zachar would mean a man lives with that's a homosexual. Ala Behema would mean bestiality. And here it's the woman is passive and she brings an animal on her. Then the rule is all of these cases skila. Skila is referring to both the animal and to the woman. What did the animal do? Why does the animal get killed? It says, because it caused a stumbling to the person. So then the pasuk says that you have to stone the animal. So in other words, because some mishap, something bad happened to the person because of the animal, so we killed the animal. I guess it would be like the animal was created for a purpose, and now it's only causing harm, so its purpose is not there. Davar acher, another pshat. Another pshat is that we shouldn't have an animal walking through the marketplace and everyone will point to it and say, "Oh, that's the animal that so and so died because of." So that would be something that's causing shame to the person. There's two reasons why the animal is killed. One reason is because it caused a problem. It caused a mishap to a human being. The other one is the second davar acher is that it causes shame when anyone sees the animal. It's embarrassing to that. Oh, that's the animal that caused something. Oh, I see. You're right. It's pretty bad over here. It's pretty dirty. So, yeah. No, well, we're here already, but he'll set up in there. I said, oh, maybe we could stay here, but it was right. Okay, the Gemara says, Zachar minalan. How do we know that a male animal is not a male animal? How do we know that someone that lives with a mother man is put to death? The Tanur Rabbana was taught in a brisa. Ish. It says, well, let's say the whole pasuk. Isha sheyishka v'zachar, mishka ve'isha, ma'isimasu, demeim bum, I think, right? Ma'isimasu. It says that a man that will lay with another man. So it starts off with ish, a man. Now it's interesting because when it says the active partner in this, it calls the active partner a man, ish. The active partner needs to be a man. Pratlakatan, not a child. Needs to be an adult, not a child. Asher yishka v'zachar, that will lay with a male. It doesn't use the term ish. It doesn't use the term man. That means that the passive partner in this does not need to be an adult. Bein gadol, bein katan. right? So, and then it says Mishkave Isha, which means as a man would lay with a woman. It's coming to teach us that there are two ways that a man could lay with a woman. Which means by a man, there's only one way, which is the abnormal way.
With an animal?
No, a man with another man.
Oh, yeah.
Amar Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel says, it's actually coming to teach us something different than what we thought it was coming to teach us. We thought it was coming to teach us that a man that lays with a man is going to be chayiv. But really what it's coming to teach us is that a man that lays with a woman is chayiv, whether he lays with her in a normal fashion or he lays with her in an atypical fashion. Ma'is Yumasu, there was a surprise here in what this was teaching us. We thought it was teaching us one thing. Nimtzas Lamed, it turns out it's teaching us something about the way a man lays with a woman. And he's going to be chayiv if it was a prohibited relation, no matter which way he does it. Ma'is Yumasu, there's a death penalty. Beskila, that's a death penalty of stoning. Ataymer Beskila, you say that it's stoning. Maybe not. Maybe it's any of the other punishments in the Torah. It says the blood is in them, which we said by the sorcery, by Oifen Yidayni, that means that it's skila. And over here it also says the me'em bam, malhan skilaf kan skila. Okay, so basically what we have now is the source for the punishment of a man that lays with another man, that it's stoning. Aina Shemanu. We see that there's a punishment, as harabinayan. But where do we see that there is a prohibition? The Torah shouldn't just jump into the punishment. It should also tell us first the prohibition and then a punishment, right? First, you're not allowed, and then it says that what you get if you violate it. As harabinayan, where does it say the prohibition? The pasuk says, it says that a man should not lay as a woman. It's a abomination. Teyeva. Lamadno. Okay. The Gemara says now that this is lamadnu azhara l'sheichev. This only teaches us a prohibition for the active partner in this. Azhara l'nishkav minayin. What about the passive partner? Where do we see the prohibition for him? Talmud Laimar la'yia kadesh b'nei Yisrael. There should not be a kadesh. Is someone that's designated for this sort of behavior.
Sodom.
That's what it calls him, sodomite. Okay. So that's teaching me that let me take a look at this.
Is this word kadesha?
Yeah, like a kadesha. Kadesha would be a prostitute of a woman. Now kadesh would mean the man. Okay, we're not finished. There's another pasuk that says, "V'gam kadesh haya be'eretz asu k'chalataya v'sagayim asher hayrish v'gaimer." There was this, what do you want to call him, a sodomite in the land that they did all the abominations of the nations that Hashem chased them out. We're talking about in the land of Israel, there were people that were not behaving properly. Well, we learn one kaddish from another, just like this kaddish that it says in the prophets, in the book of Kings. But there it says that it was a kaddish that did the abominations, which means that it was a homosexual relations. So too, the kaddish, la'yia kaddish b'nei Yisrael, is referring to the same sort of abomination. Okay, now we know already that the punishment of the active partner and the passive partner is the same. Both of them are skila. That we know from the pasuk because it says shnehem. It says both of them. It says both of them are put to death.
So but will be the case.
Right. Right. To Rabbi Shmuel, we have to say what does yes mean. To Rabbi Shmuel, that's the words of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva says the source is different. Rabbi Akiva, he has his own source for the passive partner in this relations. Rabbi Akiva Omer, "Ein tzarich, Rabbi Omer, v'zacha litishkav mishka v'isha, karbe leisi shachev." It could be like tishkav. So it could be that you shouldn't. Like tishkav means to lay with, and leisi shachev means to be lain with, which means the passive partner. Yeah. Behema. Okay, so far we've completed our discussion on the homosexual relations of the prohibition and also the punishment. And we have two sources for the passive partner. It's Machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. If we outsourced it, or it's from the pasuk itself that could be read in two ways. Like tishkav, like tishachev.
And didn't the Rabban make a zera for women also?
Yeah, that's a rabbinic law, or it possibly a biblical law, depending on how you want to read. You shall not behave like they did in Egypt. That could be including. Okay, anyway, next category. Behema minalan. How do we know that we have this punishment for an animal? Taner Rabbanan. It's taught in a brisa. It was taught in a brisa. Ish. The pasuk says, "Ish ashiyitin shchavte bebehema." What is it? How does it continue? It says, "Ki harig targenu." No, I'm sorry. Hey, if someone that will give his laying, that he will lay with an animal. So it says ish, a man. What does a man mean? It means someone that's mature, right? Prat lekatan. This is excluding someone that's a child. The child is not going to get the punishment. It has to be an adult. Over here, it says behema. This could mean a young animal or an old animal. So in other words, here we're talking about the active partner is a man, passive partner is the animal. The passive partner, it doesn't matter its age. Mais yumas put to death, beskila, with a stoning. Ataimer beskila, you say that it's stoning. Maybe it's one of the other punishments. Nemerkan taharegu. It says over here that you kill him. Usually hereg means like with the sword. Nemer lahalan ki harig targeno, and it says somewhere else. It says that you surely be killed. Now, where does it say that? That's talking about the person that is the missionary, convincing other people to worship idols. Over there, it says that the convincer is put to death by stoning. Malahal beskila, afkan beskila. So we learn, it says that word tahargeno over there, and over here it says taharaigo. So that's telling me, that comparison tells me that it's going to be the same type of death penalty, which is going to be skila. Lamadnu einish l'sheichev. So far, you've taught me that the active partner gets the punishment of skila. Einish l'nishkav minalan. Let's say it was the opposite. Let's say someone brought an animal to lay with him, and the human is the passive partner in this. What's going to be then? So Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says, "Kol shechev and behema ma'isumas." Anyone that lays with an animal is put to death. Now, since this pasuk would assume to mean that the human is the active partner as well. If it's not relevant to the human being the active, so we'll apply it. This is called im ene inyan. Sometimes you have a pasuk that's literally not saying what we want it to say, but we say, well, since it's not necessary for what it is saying, because we already have a source for that, so we're going to apply it to something else. So we're going to use this pasuk to teach me the passive human is also going to have the punishment. Yeah, it's not one of the 13, but it's another type. I guess there's more than 13. We've learned that there's a punishment for the active partner in bestiality, whether it's the active or the passive. But as haraminayin, how do we know that there's a prohibition? You can't just have a punishment. Yes, the Torah also has to tell us that you're not allowed to. And then it says the punishment. Talmud Laimar, so the pasuk says for the prohibition, in any animal you should not give your laying to make impure. But that sounds like when it says you should not give your laying, that sounds like the active partner. Lenishkav minayin, but where do we see the passive partner in this relation? This is another form of tayeva, of abomination, which teaches us the passive partner as well. That was in comparison to the homosexual relations, where we had also the passive partner, was also from this type of learning, Layia Kadesh. Now, that was Rabbi Yishmael's view. Rabbi Kiva says, it's not necessary. Rabbi Kiva does the same thing here that he did with the last, with the homosexual relationship, where he said, I can read the pasuk itself by changing the vowels, and I can get the active and the passive out of the same word by just changing the vowels. Before it was leisi shachiv instead of leitishkav. You should not lay, you should not be lain with. Over here it's you shall not give your laying, or you shall not give to be lain with. So Rabbi Kiva is using the same pasuk for the passive partner as the active partner. Okay, now we're going to go through a few cases here, and we're going to go through, is there going to be a difference in rule, in law, between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yishmael, based on the different ways that they learn it. So the first case is, Habala Zachar Vehevi Zachar Alav. Someone lives with another man, and at the same time, the other man lives with him. In other words, in the same act of forgetting that this was prohibited. Maybe he was drunk. So he does both of these prohibitions, right? So what's going to happen if it's a death penalty? You can only get killed once. If it's a mistake, right? If it's shegeg, if it's something was wrong, what's wrong? Unintentional. You mean Habala Zachet right here on Habala Zachet Vehevi Zachar Alav? I think it's with the man, right? Lives with the man. If you can see, I'm 2 lines up in the skinny lines. So Habal Zachar, someone that lives with a man, and at the same time a man lives with him in the same forgetting. Amar Rabavo, who's a sage from Eretz Yisrael, comes in, he steps in, he says, Rabbi Yishmael Chayiv Shtayim, Chadam Tishkav, Chadam Alayya Kadesh. According to Rabbi Yishmael, this person did 2 prohibitions. One is he did an active prohibition. The second is he did a passive prohibition. 2 different sources. The Rabbi Akiva in Chayiv Alachas. According to Rabbi Akiva, it's a little sticky on the table. So just feel it before you put your computer down. So according to Rabbi Yishmael, you have 2 different sources, and according to Rabbi Akiva, you only have 1 source. Why? Because Leitishkav is Leitishachev Chadahu. It's really 1 pasuk. You just read it in 2 different ways. Yeah, 1 pasuk you read it 2 different ways is only going to give us 1 prohibition, 1 sacrifice. Okay. This is the second case. This is an animal. Someone lives with an animal, and the animal lives with him. So what happens? Comes along Rabavo, and he said, Rabbi Yishmael, according to Rabbi Yishmael, Chayiv Shtayim. Yeah, put this underneath.
Maybe I'll go white.
Hillel was right. Hillel suggested we go to the other room.
Would have been easy for me just find a clean spot, put my safer down, and everybody else doesn't have a place to sleep. I think about others. I wanted to make sure that everybody had a nice place when they got here.
Right. Mishka. Tamar Rabavo says, "I'll give Rabbi Yishmael chayiv shtayim." According to Rabbi Yishmael, is chayiv twice. Rabbi Yishmael has the same way we did with the homosexual relations, that he said that there were two different sources. Over here also we have over here also by the animal we also have two different sources. And Rabbi Akiva in a chayiv alachas. And Rabbi Akiva only chayiv one because the laying and being lain with is one. All right, because he uses that same pasuk read in two different ways.
Mhm.
That was Rabavo's take on this. Comes along Abaya, does a little shift on us. Abaya says, "Afil div Rabbi Yishmael nami ein chayiv ala achas." Help me out in the notes if this is correct. Abaya didn't argue on when it came to the homosexual relations. He agreed that according to Rabbi Yishmael would be two, according to Rabbi Akiva would be one. He agreed with Rabavo. It only when it comes to the animal, he says, no, hold on. He says, even according to Rabbi Yishmael, nami in a chayiv alachas. The chiksiv la'yah kaddish, the gabri ksiv. He refuses to accept that la'yah kaddish is referring to living with an animal. So if that's the case, where will Rabbi Yishmael know that a passive laying with an animal is prohibited? He learns that from anyone that lays with an animal. Which is another source. What he's going to say is, he says we actually have another source for this, for laying with the animal. With the animal laying with a human. And that source is anyone that lays with the animal is put to death. Now, since that pasuk is not necessary for the passive partner, since that animal is not necessary for the active partner, because we already have a source for it, we apply it to the passive partner. And just like the active partner has a punishment and a prohibition, so too the passive partner also has a punishment and prohibition. Okay. Hanirba lezachar v'hanirba lebehema. Now it's getting complex. This is where someone is a passive partner to another man, and he's also a passive partner to an animal. Amar Rabavo. Rabavo is coming in to tell us how many prohibitions he just violated. Rabbi Akiva chayiv shtayim. According to Rabbi Akiva, there's two prohibitions here. Rabbi Akiva learned leitishav, leitishkav, leitishachiv, and he also learned by the animal leisitin shchavtcha, leisitin shchivasech. So there's two prohibitions. According to Rabbi Yishmael, you only chayiv one because he says that it's all from la'yah kaddish. Which that was Rabavo's take on the passive partner in both of those relationships. Abaya says no. I feel Rabbi Yishmael nami chayiv shtayim. According to Rabbi Yishmael, you also chayiv because Abaya says that the passive partner, according to Rabbi Yishmael, has an independent source. Tiksiv kol shechiv and behema ma'isumas. And in many shechiv t'neil niskav after rachman al niskav b'lashon shechiv ma shechiv anish v'ezer af niskav anish v'ezer. Okay. So Abaya says that there's an independent source for an animal, which is independent passive partner in the animal relations. It's independent from the passive partner of the homosexual relations. So then there's gonna be chayiv twice over here for this person. Let's say he does all four. He lives with a male. He has a male live with him. He lives with an animal, and he has the animal live with him. Bein l'Rabavo, bein l'Abaya, whether to Rabavo, whether to Abaya or Rabbi Yishmael, chayiv shalosh. You're going to be chayiv 3 times. Am I going to spell this out? What the 3 are? Well, active and active are definitely both independent. Both active with the male and active with the animal are independent verses, so that's for sure too. With the passive, According to Rabbi Vo, there's only one source for both passive. That's Kaddish. That would be 3. According to Abaya, according to Abaya, for the passive you have Leia Kaddish. And for the animal you have Behemoth. What's the pasuk? What was the pasuk that we quoted from Abaya? We said, like we call Sheichav and Behemoth Yuma. It sounds like Abaya you should have 4. Why are we saying only 3? Okay. Well, what Abaya is saying, what's being explained here by Rashi, is that the passive partner doesn't get its own punishment in an animal relations, doesn't get its own violation instead of the active partner, because they learned one from another. It was Minion L'Shechev, the Nishkav, and then they learned one from the other. So there's only going to be 3 over there. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, and according to Rabbi Kiva, there's only 2, because both active and passive, Rabbi Kiva learns from the same pasuk. He just he adjusts the vowels. Tanu Rabbanan, it was taught in the Brisa Zachar. When it came to a male partner, here we're talking about a passive male partner. Lay asa by katan kagadol. When it comes to the active partner in this relationship, of course, it needs to be someone that's able to have relations. He has to be at least 9, right? But he's not going to get the punishment until he's 13, because he's underage, right? What about the passive partner in this? How old is he to be considered a partner in this relationship? So we said that a child is not like an adult. Now we have to explain. We said before that it doesn't matter whether it's a child or whether not, but there still is some age difference that needs to be clarified, right? So it wouldn't be referring to a baby, right? Well, what about by an animal? Behema, by an animal, it doesn't matter the passive partner. Yeah, obviously, with the age of the passive partner, where the active partner is a human, it doesn't matter. The human's going to get punished. The active partner is going to get punished no matter the age of the passive partner by the animal. What does it mean that there's a difference in age by the passive partner in a homosexual relationship? Amarav le'asubia pachis ben teisha shanim kiben teisha shanim. Rav holds that if someone has relations with a child under 9, then that's not considered a relations, even though that's only the passive partner. We think that the age would only be on the active partner. Abaye says no, you compare the active to the passive. Just like the active partner is only 9, only if he's 9 years old, that's when his relations is considered relations. The passive partner is also only when he is 9 years old. I don't think that was a concept back then.
Come on, everything's been back then.
Maybe it was
Nothing
more.
wrong with this.
No, I don't think that was that was considered a crime. I think people would get married younger. I mean, there's rape and there's rape, right? So if it's by force, then whatever. But if it was given in marriage or something, then right. I don't think it was this.
So this would be rape of a male child.
Yeah. In American
Where
law,
is that?
if you take like molestation or pedophilia, how far back does that go in American law? Like at what, in the 1800s, did we have cases of that? No, but it seems like it's more. It's more. Is it does it happen more, or is the law more strict more recently?
I think
I think it always happened.
Yeah.
But when does the law stepped in? Only more recently, right?
we'll step in and start that rules. The 12
I'm not
column
talking about.
Constitution.
Sorry, I'm not talking about before the Revolutionary War. I'm talking about in
I think the bottom line is rape or not.
right. That was
then-
what mattered.
Yeah, and then
Right. Okay. So also psychologically, the harm psychologically is much worse today. I think because of those. Even back then, I don't think it was the same. People didn't have the same expectations and with rights and other things. So the psychological harm is worse today, probably. Back then, it could have been that people expected, like, anyway, I don't know.
So is the Gemara saying here that if a man, a gadol, lives with a cotton under the age of 9,
It's not
there's no chiyuv, there's not even a carbon?
right. According to Rav, let's take a look at Shmuel. Shmuel would be more acceptable. Shmuel Amar, Lo yasa bi apach mi ben shalish shanim, ben shalish shanim. He says no. Shmuel says that we look at it the other way. We look at just like a woman, a relations with a woman is once she's 3 years old, that's considered a real relations. So too, a relations with a man as a passive partner is going to be 3 years old. Rav said 9 years old. Shmuel says the passive partner is only 3 years old, even if it's a man. So Shmuel would fit more with the expectation. And then the assumption is that under 3 is so abnormal that it's not even it's not counted. It's nothing. Okay. Rav Sav, but my commitment, what's the machlekes? Rav Sav called Isa b'sheichav Isa b'nishkav. Rav learns that anyone that's in the active, anything that's in the active will do the same be in the passive. Called b'lesa b'sheich lesem. Anything that's not in the active is also not in the passive. Shmuel Sav mishkav yishiksiv. Shmuel says that there's a plural when it says to lay with the woman. There's a plural there. And what does that plural tell me? It's talking about if a man lays with a woman in a way. If a man lays with a man in the way that he would lay with a woman, in the layings, it has the plural, mishkevei isha, the layings of a woman. That plural taught us that there was both the abnormal and the typical and atypical relations. But here Shmuel is saying that that just like we learn from the woman's relations that she has to be 3, that's also telling us now that the man also has to be at least 3. Okay. If you want more, you have to go to
Eretz Yisrael.
Tanya Kava say the Rav. There's a brisa that supports Rav. Zocher ben Tesha Shana v'Yemechad. A male, a boy that's 9 years old in a day. That he's the going to be the passive partner in this relations. Or Habala Behema. Is another case. You see that already we have a source for Rav. Rav said 9, and this source tells me 9. Or someone that lives with an animal, bein kedarka, bein shlei kedarka. Now, living with an animal, as the passive partner, this could be in a typical manner. Well, nothing is typical here, but in the fashion of the way a man would lay with a woman, it depends which part of the animal is using. It's either could be kedarka or it could be shalei kedarka. Doesn't matter which way. Or a woman that brings an animal on her, bein kedarka, bein shalei kedarka, whether on her it's the typical manner or the atypical manner, all of those is chayiv. Okay, that was the brisa, and it brought a support for Rav, and that's why we quoted it. Darash Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda. Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda teaches the following halacha. He says, "V'isha shnei mishkaves." If a woman lays with an animal, with a male animal, so whether she brings the animal onto her in a typical manner or an atypical manner, both of those are going to be chayiv. Ubebehema, but if a man lays with an animal, so then mishkav echad is only the typical manner, not the atypical manner of laying with a woman. Now it's an animal, right? There's only one way of laying with an animal, but with a woman and an animal, even there's two ways. It's typical and atypical. Maskevla Rav Papa challenges this. He says, "Adarabba, isha de orcha he a mishkav mechayev." A woman that has a typical way of having relations, so then there should only be the typical way. Amida machrin alay mechayev. Even with an animal, but even though nothing here is typical, but in this way of laying, a woman would have a normal way of having relations, and that should be the only way, which is the opposite of what Rav Nachman, son of Rav Chisda, said. Amida machrin alay mechayev, but on anything else you should not be chayev. Behema de lavorche, but when it comes to an animal where nothing is typical, l'chayev al kol nekev v'nekev, on any orifice that there is, you should be chayev. Nothing is typical. Tanya. I mean, it uses an expression that's not I call nekev and nekev is not the usual expression. It says ben kedarka ben shalei kedarka, usually typical or atypical. Here it uses a different expression. I'm not sure whether
from 2 to 3 possible.
That's
trying to stay.
Yeah, as a family share, I'm not sure if that's what it's referring to, but because it switches here, is there the third possibility? Is that a death penalty in Torah law?
Terrible.
Yeah, it says mishkavei isha. There's two possible. If a man lays with a woman, there's two possible ways that he could get a death penalty.
I don't think so. Definitely not American law. That's
Okay, I don't know. This is a question I'm not going to find the answer to so easily. So, okay. Tanya, it's not going to be in the chuvas, at least not in the typical ones. So Tanya was taught in a brisa. If there's a boy that's 9 years old that lives with an animal, we have a brisa here that's not gonna follow Rav Nachman's view, which said that there were two ways to lay with a woman, an animal laying with a woman. Not going to follow Rav Papa's view that says that there's only one way of laying with a woman, but two ways of laying with an animal. It says a boy that's 9 years old, habala behema, that lives with an animal, ben kedarka, ben shlei kedarka, whether it's typical or not typical. So we're not like Rav Nachman. Or a woman that brings an animal on her, whether it's kedarka or shlei kedarka, we're already not like Rav Papa. It's chayiv on both. So this one gives all four possibilities. The brisa. Amalei Ravina l'Rava. Ravina says to Rava, Hama'ara b'zachar mahar. Now in the relations, there's the beginning of the relations, which is just the beginning of penetrating, just when the top of the male organ enters in, and then there's the complete relations. Now, when exactly is complete is a machlekes. If it just means that the whole entire organ enters, or it means the end of the relation. But here the Ravina is asking Rava, if someone has homosexual relations, but just the beginning of the relations, called ha'ara, they just enters in just the top, just the initial start of the relations. Is he going to be chayiv? The Gemara says, he tells him, Mara bezacher mishkvi yishuk tivnei. What do you mean? It says over there like he lays with a woman, and just like when he lays with a woman, he's chayiv just from an initial penetration, that even if it's not fully. Rather, the question is, let's say someone has this relations with an animal, because that it doesn't say in the pasuk as he lays with a woman. By the homosexual relation, it uses the term mishkave yisha. By the animal, it doesn't use that term. So ma, what's it in? So we do another main Indian here. It says if someone lives with his aunt, his father's sister, his mother's sister, and it uses the term over there ha'ara. So, and since it's not necessary to say it there, because we know ha'ara already from Anida, which includes all the prohibited relations. So we're going to take it from there and we'll apply it to an animal. So it's michti. 1 second. Behema machayvi mises bezdini. Lamali diksiv lara dida gabi chayvi krisus lichtve gabi chayvi mises bezdin v'lig mechayvi mises bezdin mechayvi mises bezdin. We're a little surprised over here. Someone lives with his aunt. It's not a death penalty. It's only a karis. So why are we learning this law from karis to a death penalty? Could be the death penalty would have a different category. You're taking a law from karis to the death penalty. Maybe it switches when it switches to this harsher punishment. Let it say it by something that's in a death penalty, and we'll learn to another death penalty, to living with an animal, which is a death penalty. The Gemara answers, since this entire pasuk is entirely extra, and it's all coming to teach me things. So we wrote also this drasha also in there into that. Rabach Barami asked Rav Sheshes the following question: let's say someone has relations with himself. A male, he uses his male organ for an atypical relations on himself. Amalei, going to the Guinness book. Amalei kabastan. He says, you're making me angry. He says, your question is ridiculous because it's impossible. So, like, you're making me angry. They're asking me like ridiculous questions. Amar Rav Ashi says, Mighty Bailach, what was his question? Bekushi, if the male organ is erect, then it's impossible. If it was not erect, so then it could be possible. That's a machlekes. According to one opinion, if it's what's the word? It's not erect. What's the flaccid? If it's flaccid, so one opinion holds that he's pater. So hacha pater, so over here he's going to be pater as well. According to the opinion that says that he's chayiv in such a way, hacha mechayiv tarti. So he's going to be chayiv twice. Mechayiv ashaycha. First he's chayiv because he's the active partner. Mechayiv anishkav, he's chayiv because he's the passive partner. So I guess we have to stop by Baimini Rav Sheshes. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Hello, sorry, I didn't know you set up.
Oh, 1 second. I have to turn off the recording. Like the